Okay. The Cabriole leg is actually traditionally has an S curve in it. It was originally a Chinese design, and when Europeans began importing furniture from China, they noticed these S shapes in legs and other parts of the Chinese furniture designs. It was called then a Sima curve. It first curves out and creates a knee on the leg, and then curves back in for the ankle and ends in a pad foot. You can see a typical example of a Queen Anne cabriole leg there on the blackboard. After the American Revolution, we started rejecting English furniture designs. In fact, we were rejecting everything English back then. And so we walked away from the designs of Chippendale and all the people who had done Queen Anne furniture and started getting into what we called at the time federal-style furniture, what the French called directoire furniture. And these had nice, skinny, tapered legs. And pretty soon, one of the turners figured out that if they wanted to make a turned tapered leg, they could turn the foot first at one center, and then they could move the center for the taper and turn the taper at another center, and you'd have an offset pad foot. And this was called a turned cabriole because it gave the appearance of there being a knee and an ankle. I'll show you how to make one as this evolves. If you want to see the plan that I'm following, you can get that on the blackboard too. It's underneath the images. I put a PDF file there. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut the corners. In any turned leg, usually the section that connects to your aprons you want to leave square. This is where the joinery should have gone if I hadn't been in a hurry last night and didn't put any mortises in. But you would do your joinery first, put some mortises or what in this, and now right here at 4 3/4 inches, according to the plan, it's going to transition from a square stock to turned or round stock. Now, if you've done this or tried this at all, you know that it is an absolute nightmare to keep those corners from chipping out. They want to chip. So what I've done is I've marked those carefully, and I've wrapped them with masking tape to kind of hold them in. And now I'm going to take a pocket knife, and I'm just going to put some tiny cuts there, about an 1/8 inch deep, at the corners. And I'm going to be very careful as I turn this that I don't turn past those cuts and lift up that that corner. Now, in fact, I'm going to use the eyeballs while I do this, so that I've got a really good idea of what I'm doing. Anyway, incidentally, these things are wonderful. This one has lights. Look at that, lights on the center, so you can scare your kids at night. And it has has 3 times magnification, but you can flip up and get 6 times magnification, or you can bring this in and you can see Pluto. All right, let's do the transition now. As you can see, I'm sort of sneaking up. remember that scraping gouge I showed you? I guess I did a pretty good job. Okay, there you go. Not a chip. I'm going to leave the rest of that for sandpaper. That's about as good as I could hope for. A little sandpaper in there, and that'll be fine. Let me continue the transition, not from the cuts, but in this area just immediately underneath it. Go back to use the gouge for this. And just a hair more scraping. I like to use a scraping gouge when I do areas that primarily involve end grain. And see, I'm scraping the end grain right there. And I feel I get a smoother cut on the end grain. Now, let's go down and do the pad foot. Take I'm going to adjust my my steady rest so that I'm almost right on top of this. And if you, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a parting tool and turn in a separation here. I've got this needs to be 26 3/4 inches long. So right there is where I'm going to have to part off the end. Just put a little nick in there with the chisel. You'll be able to see it when it's turning. Okay. Now later on, I will separate the turning at that point. Now I'm going to go down to 1.25 inches. Take my calipers and set those to 1.25 inches. God, won't do that twice in a row. Okay, and I'm going to take the end of the pad down to 1.25 inches here. Okay, now, the bottom of this is at 1.25 inches, and I'm going to come up here, measure the tapered part of the pad is 1.25 inches high. We'll use that measurement again here. So I'll mark this at 1.25 inches. This time I'm going to take my skew and hold that right there at that mark and put just a little line in there. All right, now I'm going to taper the pad foot. From that line down. There we go. And now we're going to dismount this. And as you can see here, and I'll bring this up to the camera. Before I started, I put two centers on this. The one center here is where I turned my transition, and I turned the pad foot. Now I'm going to turn the taper at this. If you were to look at a leg that I've marked, take a look at this. You'll see I have two centers on that. This is the center for the foot and the transition. This is the center for the taper. Now the ankle of the taper, if you look at the plans, goes down to 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and the taper, the back of the taper, is even with the straight part of the leg. So what I want to do is have this center right here in 3/8 of an inch, or half of 3/4, the radius of 3/4 of a 3/4 inch diameter, in from that diagonal. So when I turn this, I'll be turning the curve on the back of the leg will be parallel to this corner, and it will taper in to the pad foot there. I'll show you. Now, almost forgot an important part here, guys. When I mount this, this is going to be off-center, okay? And it'll tend to wobble. I've got this set fairly high at G so that I can turn these parts fairly fast for you. I'm going to go down to A. And I'll be turning the initial center, or the initial taper at A, simply so that I won't get too much whip on this thing. Lots of pressure here. Okay, now I'm going to turn this on just to see how she's going to run. Whoa. Not going to run all that well. Let's see. Well, we can start. We can. Fortunately, we've got another place we can do this. Let me get a. What happened was a good example. I didn't have enough meat there at the end to support that to support the piece while it turned, and it cracked out. It cracked out right there, and it's a good thing that I turned this down to A, or I'd be chasing this leg all over, or rather, Buddy and Katie would be chasing this leg all over the shop. I'm going to move my taper just a little bit. It won't change the design that much, but I'm going to bring it in, and hopefully this will allow me to use that piece. You know, things often go wrong on the shop, but if you follow safety procedures like turning this down, even when things go wrong, you don't have to hurt yourself. I'm wearing these eyeballs for this because lathe turning takes a really delicate touch, and this gives me that sense of control. I can really see what I'm doing, because sometimes every time you address the wood in lathe turning, if you take off a 1/16 of an inch off the surface, you're actually taking an 1/8 of an inch off the diameter. So you really have to control what your cut much more than you would in any other woodworking task. Okay, there you can go. You can see how that's going to turn eccentrically. Let's see if we're okay. Looks like it. All right, now I'll work down here at the base first, because that's where most of the bounce is, so to speak, and try to get that right there is how far it's going to come over. And I'm going to try to get the bounce taken care of so that we don't have to worry about this thing flopping back and forth. All right, there we go. Working, an interesting phenomena appears. You can actually see the taper that you're trying to turn. As this thing goes around, your eye registers a ghost on the front and the back as you're looking down on this, but you see a solid piece of wood running down here. That's the taper that you're after. I don't know if we can get that on the camera, but maybe we can. Now, you can see the foot beginning to evolve. Right here I have another transition, and I've already made a little chip here that I'm going to have to fix. But I'm going to switch now to the scraping tool, because to get that end grain nice and smooth, and then I'll fix that chip there. some of you who are familiar with lathe turning are noticing that I'm not changing the my tool rest height when I switch between scraping and shearing. And you don't have to, but you do have to change your chisel height if you're not going to change your tool rest height. When I'm shearing, I'm coming in with the chisel, so you can see the angle there at which I'm resting the chisel on here. It's fairly straight on. When I'm scraping, though, I've got the chisel raised much higher. Once again, what I'm doing here is I'm removing the ghost. You know, there's that little blurry part which tells me that this thing is still not around. And if I just turn down to where that blurry part disappears, then I get the taper. I could keep going with that taper, but you get the idea. You just work your way back to the transition, and it's done. And you can see how the foot has evolved. At the very end, I would go back down to the foot, shift centers once together, and turn down that pad a little bit to get rid of that shift. But I want to show you a neat trick for straightening out this taper. Now, as I said, I've turned away the ghost. I've still got a little bit of it here. In fact, you can see part of the flat that I haven't removed there. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to get that last little bit with a chisel. But then you've got to make that taper nice and straight. And to do that, I'm going to use a plane. Okay? There is no law that says that you have to turn with chisels. This plane will creates a nice flat surface, and I can turn it so that I'm actually doing the same thing a skew chisel would do, only I'm cheating. You can see how well that works. That's a nice smooth surface it's developing there. I'm taking the gouge marks out little by little. I'm going to speed this up just a hair. Nice and smooth. That's it. That's really all there is to turning a cabriole leg. It's as I say, it's a very attractive piece. You can see that nice delicate foot evolve. It looks really nice on a little side table or a little serving table. I'm going to get set up to strip down the planer. In fact, I've already got it partially stripped down. But I'm going to set up to do that. If you have any questions about turning a cabriole leg, let me know now.